Hi, everyone. We are going to get started in just a minute. All right, it looks like I have 7 o'clock, so I will get us started. I don't want to keep you too busy on your Thursday evening, but thank you for joining me tonight for the long distance running preseason webinar. My name is Kendall Zeslitz. I am the new sports lead for long distance running. Tonight's webinar is being recorded, so I will be sending out the slides as well as the link to the recording tomorrow morning, just in case you need to reference it again, or if you have an assistant coach or head coach who wasn't able to make it so they can hear it from the start. If you have any questions during the webinar tonight, please feel free to ask them by one of two ways. You can either raise your hand during the webinar and we will unmute your line, or you can type in a question, and I have Ron Freeman on the line who will be either answering your questions or passing them along to me so I can properly answer them. Tonight, we're going to be going over the events that we're offering at the state championship at Mount St. Mary's, our Fall Sports Festival on October 20th. We are going to go over a change in the layout of the courses compared to last year. We'll talk about how to train and qualify for the state championships, as well as some rules, reminders, and a few rule changes. We'll go over everyone's favorite part, the season deadline for all the forms, and then towards the end, we will have a question and answer session. I also have included all of the slides talking about forms and policies, so I will be sending these out to you. I'm not going to go through all these slides tonight just because they can get a little bit mundane, and I know you can read through them on your own time, but we will attach them for your convenience. So the events offered, what we are looking at changing is making our 800-meter run into a 1K. The way that it works with the course is just a little bit nicer. It will give the athlete a better course to run so they're not just running straight out and straight back. But we do have the option to stick with 800-meter, which I'll show you in the next two slides, the layout of it. We're also going to continue to do the 800-meter unified run as we have in the past. Then we'll have a 1,500-meter run. You'll notice that we have removed the 1,500-meter unified run from this option just because we're offering a different thing with our 3K. In addition to the regular 3K, we're going to have a unified relay where the athlete will run the 1,500-meter run, and then the unified partner will run it. So they won't be running in tandem, but their score will still count as a total. We think this is kind of a better competition opportunity because it's not so dependent on the unified partner sticking with the athlete. It can really showcase what the unified pair is able to accomplish. And same thing with the 5K. We'll offer the traditional 5K, but also a 5K unified relay. So what we're looking at with the 1K, which we're possibly going to do, I will send out a survey tomorrow to get everyone's input on this. If you're for it, just say yes. If you're not, say no, and you can always call me with reasoning. But the 1K would extend straight down College Lane and circle around the soccer stadium and then come back to the finish line, which would be where they started. The nice thing about this is it's not just the same path. As you can see, if we did the 800-meter run, it would literally just be running down to a little bit past the soccer stadium and coming right back. We are totally okay with doing this. We just kind of wanted to give a more scenic route for our athletes. But like I said, we will send out a survey and get your input on this before we make any decisions for the Fall Sports Festival. So the 1,500-meter and the 3K, which would just be two loops of this course, it will follow the same path as the 800 and the potential 1K would. We're going to have the same start and finish line for everything, so we can have all of the flags up and just make it a great place to start your race as well as end your race. So it will go past the soccer field, around the track, and then up past the baseball field and back to where you started. With the 5K, it would be two loops around this course. It's very similar to 1,500-meter run with the exception that it goes around the lake. So it would just kind of be long, starting going around the soccer field to the track to the lake and then back up and around. Like I said earlier, with the 3K and the 5K, we are going to offer the unified relay. So the athlete will run a lap and then the unified partner would run a lap, and then their total score is what would count in the end. For training and qualifying for states, all athletes and unified partners have to compete in 2 sanctioned competitions, previously known as qualifiers. One of these competitions needs to be a multi-program competition, and the second one can be an in-house competition. So in-house is typically administered in place of a practice session. We just ask that all equipment and necessary officials is in place to judge and score the athlete and have a proper score recorded for this event. At each competition, each athlete and team has to participate in the event that they are intending to compete in at the Fall Sports Festival. But that doesn't, if you have an athlete who is running the 1,500 meter run, just the traditional one, and they compete in 2 competitions at that, but they want to try out a different race, say the 5K at a third competition, that is totally fine. They are more than welcome to do so, but we would be taking their scores for the 1,500 meter run to qualify for states. We also offer mainstream races of matching or greater distances, such as the Special Olympics Maryland Tunnel Run, which is coming up, or the Baltimore Running Festival. These are considered sanctioned events. So if you have an athlete who is competing in these, that is totally fine. That will count as a competition to help them qualify for states. We do encourage any and all additional competitions. It's great for our athletes to get out there and to practice what it's really like to be at a competitive running event. And it's also just great exercise for them with their training. So as of right now, we only have 2 competitions that are on the books. The first one is with Washington County out in Hagerstown, and it's going to be on September 15th. And the second one is the Tunnel Run, which is on September 16th. So it's a long weekend of long distance running. If your county is interested in hosting a competition, please fill out a sanction form and submit it to me, and I will get the information out to all of the counties who would be interested in it. We're trying to build our competition opportunities, as many as possible, is my mindset on it. We just want our athletes to get out there and really to understand how fun the sport is and what it's all about. So for rules, our rules have been based off of the International Association of Athletics Federation. However, the national governing body for long distance running within Special Olympics is the USA Track and Field, also known as USATF. However, if the USATF long distance running rules are in conflict with the Special Olympics rules, we are going to defer to the Special Olympics rules, but I don't really see that happening too much. They're pretty much lined up perfectly. But just in case that situation applies, Special Olympics is always going to be top dog. For a uniform, athletic attire is obviously required. So athletic shorts and pants, we don't want any khakis or jeans. They're not easy to run in for our athletes, so we try to keep them in a uniform that is as easy as possible. Wristwatches and other timing devices are permitted. However, we do not allow jewelry or medals or headphones, with the exception of medical alert bracelets. Some stud earrings and flat earrings may be permitted at the official's discretion, so this might change based off of the competition that you attend, but please just follow what the official is saying. So for footwear, you can wear shoes, or you are able to run barefoot. If you choose to wear shoes, they need to be appropriate for athletic competition, so sneakers. We don't want any work boots or any street shoes or open-toed shoes. Really anything that could be of a hazard to our athletes who are running. We want to keep them as safe as possible. Rules, our races are going to start with a mass start for all divisions of a given distance. So everyone who's doing the 800 meter race is going to start at the same time. Same with the 1500 meter and the 3K and the 5K. It's pretty easy to keep track of because they're all coming in at different times, so they will all start at the same time. The course is open in advance of competition for inspection and review. Please take advantage of this with your athletes and your unified partners. Familiarize them with the course itself. Check out the course for any hazards that they might need to avoid, all that kind of stuff. We have it ready and we have it marked in way ahead of time, so we'll make sure that it is open for them to view. And coaches, family members, and other spectators are not permitted on the course or to run with athletes unless they are registered as a unified partner and on that specific unified team. We may provide spectator space at various points along the course, but not physically on the course where you would be blocking the athletes. Any spectator who runs a distance with a competitor will cause the competitor to be disqualified. So please just let your athletes do the race that they have been training for all season, and you can give them some tips or encourage them afterwards. We do say you are able to cheer for them. So if they're passing by, please feel free to encourage them. Tell them they're doing a great job, but do not actually run next to them. This is also a rule within any training or a qualifying competition. Please encourage your parents. I know they are so enthusiastic and fantastic and supportive of their athletes, but just encourage them to take a step back and really let the athletes showcase what they've been working for all season. So with the 800-meter unified run, the unified pairs must finish within 5 seconds of each other, and then the combined time of both runners is the time for the team. The pairs are able to touch or hold hands, but if it seems that the unified partner is grabbing the shirt or trying to carry the athlete towards the finish line, that will result in a disqualification. With the relays of the 3K and the 5K, it's a little bit different because obviously the athlete and the unified partner are not running at the same time. So it will just be the athlete doing one lap, and then as soon as they get back, the unified partner is going to go, and then that total time is how they are going to score. So this is very important. We include it in all of our webinars, but no athlete or volunteer may participate in any manner in a Special Olympics Maryland program without a valid and current medical form or volunteer application. There are no exceptions to this policy. This is something that we're really cracking down on just to ensure the safety of our athletes and all of our volunteers and coaches. So we have now initiated a new rule that any of our old medicals or old volunteer forms are no longer going to be accepted. We transitioned to a new format for them about 3 to 4 years ago. So anything that was filled out in so you had an old medical that you submitted last year, we're not going to say that's no longer valid. It will be invalid once the expiration hits, but we will no longer allow anyone to submit those new forms and have that count.
And Kendall, hey, this is Mike. Just one clarification on that for folks. Actually, this requirement that we use the new form or that only the new forms are accepted, that actually was put in place a couple of years ago. It's just that we've had a little blip recently of some old forms being submitted. So this isn't some new requirement that we're putting in place. It was actually announced to the area leaders again back in 2016. That we wouldn't be accepting them anymore. We just want to make sure people are aware of that.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. All right, so everyone's favorite part, the deadlines. Our first deadline is coming up on September 10th, and that is your training registration deadline. That is when your complete roster needs to be entered into GMS. So any and all athletes, unified partners, coaches, and volunteers that are going to be participating with your program and trying to come to states, they need to be in GMS by the state. The next one is September 20th, which is the last date for missing forms to be submitted. So all athletes have to have a valid medical, and all coaches, partners, and volunteers have to have all the proper paperwork and training through the date of the competition, which is going to be October 20th. So if your athlete has a medical that expires on October 19th, then that is not valid. They have to have one that is going to go through the actual state competition. The final deadline that we have is October 4th, which is the competition registration deadline. And this is where everyone participating from your roster needs to be entered into the event that they will be competing at the Fall Sports Festival. Right, the Coach's Code of Conduct, I'm not going to read through every single bullet point. I'm just going to touch on some highlights from the sections. Please read through this on your own time and make sure that all the coaches from your program do. It's just a really good thing to make sure that we're keeping in check with, because it really shows how we should be running our events and how we should be treating our athletes and everyone that we interact with. So the first section of this is having respect for others and ensuring a positive experience, acting professionally and taking responsibility for actions, quality service to the athletes and unified partners, and the health and safety of the athletes and Unified partners. So like I said, please just pass this along if you have any assistant coaches, even with your volunteers or Unified partners. It's just a really good thing to read over and be aware of as we are interacting with all of our wonderful athletes. So for long distance running, that is all I have for our preseason webinar. Once I find out more competitions, I will pass along that information to you all. I did send out the email regarding the Marine Corps 10K. If you are interested, please reach out to me and let me know about how many athletes you think might be interested in going and their names, and I will get registration links sent to you. If you have any questions regarding the season, please don't hesitate to email me. My email is in this PowerPoint, and when I send the slides out, I will make sure to include my cell phone number so you can either call me, email me, whatever works best for you. If you have any other questions regarding any of our fall sports, I have listed all of the names of people who are in charge of what sport. Please feel free to reach out to them. We are here at your dispense, so please just let us know how we can help. And I don't believe I haven't seen anyone ask a question or raise their hand, so I'll give it another minute just in case anyone has anything. But if not, thank you so much for joining tonight, and I will send this stuff out promptly tomorrow morning, and I'm looking forward to a great long distance running season. All right, so far, no questions. That's always a good sign, I think. All right, well, thank you everyone for joining. You will hear probably a little bit too much of me throughout the season, but I'm really looking forward to it. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Have a great night.